On August 29th, 1979, Michael Jackson turned 21. Even though he is a Jehovah's Witness, did not celebrate his birthdays when media did, especially the important ones. I interviewed Michael for magazine articles to mark important age milestones. Michael turns 16, Michael turns 18, even Michael turns 20. So I was happy to meet him again once again for yes, Michael turns 21. It was a turning point in his life and he felt it in a keen way. He had come of age, was about to take his life and career into his own hands. I really feel that being a man is doing exactly what you want to do in this life and to do it successfully and to conquer a goal, he told me. Age is just a number, I know. I'm no more a man now than I have was yesterday, but still it means something to me to be 21. I've seen a lot, done a lot, however, now I think things will be different for me better. To me, Walt Disney is a real man, he observed. Charlie Chaplin, a real man. Fred Astaire, a real man. Bill Robinson, a real man. Not only did they achieve goals, but look at how much joy they gave other people. People look up to them. I want people to look up to me too. They may pass. I want to make one too. That's what being a man means to me. Just days after I interviewed Michael, he and Joseph had an argument, one more bitter than any in recent memory. Michael said that the time had come to make it clear to his father that he wanted more control over his career. Joseph didn't like that being criticized by Michael, but he asked for it. When he inquired as to the problems Michael had with the way things had gone in the past, Michael gave him a list of grievances. In part, he didn't like the way the situation with Jermaine had been handled. Wasn't satisfied the way the group had left Motown and was also unhappy with the recent CBS product with the exception of the Off the Wall. Wisely, Michael kept it all about business. He left out personal complaints and certainly didn't address the subject of Joseph's blatant unfaithfulness to Catherine. I let you make that movie, didn't I? Joseph shot back at him. This is how you repay me? You didn't let me make that movie, Michael answered, his eyes blazing. I'm a grown up now, Joseph. I'm Michael Jackson. I make my own decisions. Why, you little? Joseph lifted his hand and was about to smack his son just like old times. However, he changed his mind. Michael gave him a defiant look and walked away. Joseph was as hurt as he was angry, though he thought Michael was being far too critical of him as a manager and couldn't imagine how he had ended up with a son who was such an ingrate. When Michael said he was going to meet an attorney to investigate his options, Joseph was crushed. Prior to this time, Michael and his siblings only used Joseph's attorneys and accountants. Now that Michael wanted his own representation, Joseph felt as if his son didn't trust him. Of course, Michael didn't trust him. Michael had more than $1 million in his own bank account now as a result of the law, and he wanted to hang on to it. He realized that money was power, and if he wished to break away from the family, it was his bank account that would best support that effort, not Joseph and not his brothers. All of this information was a rude awakening for Joseph. All right, fine, if that's what you want, he said defeated wisely. He didn't want to further antagonize his son. He hoped Michael would not follow through the idea that this particular storm would blow over. He was wrong. Michael's accountant, Michael Mesnick, who also represented the Beach Boys, arranged for Michael to meet with three entertainment lawyers and choose the one he liked best. First on the list was John Branca, a 31-year-old native New Yorker with a background in corporate tax law and music industry negotiations for performers such as the Beach Boys, Neil Diamond, and Bob Dylan. Bright, young, aggressive, and determined, John was eager to make a name for himself in the entertainment industry. Because he was more a rock and roll fan, John was only vaguely familiar with Michael's music and career. However, when he checked with his colleagues, he was told that Michael was perceived by the music industry as someone with the potential to be a superstar. John was intrigued. He thought that Michael might be an artist he could take to the next level. At the same time, he felt that an association with Michael could establish his own career as an attorney. John recalled that his meeting with Michael was a bit unusual. Michael took off his sunglasses only once at the beginning when he eyed John and asked if the two had previously met. When they established that they hadn't, Michael smiled and put his sunglasses back on. Michael Mesnick asked John a list of questions, and Michael listened to the answers. Of course, he seemed shy and uncomfortable. Finally, when he began to relax, he told John that the reason he needed representation was that he wanted independence from his family once and for all, and especially from his father. At that time, the Jacksons had a group contract with Epic. Michael said he wanted one for himself as a solo artist, as well as a member of the Jacksons. Also, he wanted all of his business affairs reviewed, including his publishing deal and his record sales. John was enthusiastic, full of valuable information, and eager to assist in any way possible. He was also, as far as Michael was concerned, the right man for the job. After the meeting, Michael canceled the other two interviews and hired John Branca. John was impressed with Michael's total belief in himself. He said later, it was infectious. John could not wait to get started working for him. Earlier in the relationship, Michael confided in John his two principal goals. First of all, he said he wanted to be the biggest star in show business. Secondly, he wanted to be the wealthiest. He told John that he was angry that Off the Wall had only garnered one Grammy. I saw 5 million in the US, 6 million in foreign. That's a big record, he told him. It was totally unfair that it didn't get a record of the year and it can never happen again. Michael was frustrated by what he saw as a lack of respect for the entertainment industry. For instance, he felt he deserved to be on the cover of Rolling Stone and asked his publicist, Norman Winter, to try to arrange it. He would very much like to do a major piece on Michael Jackson, but feel it is not a cover story, was publisher John Winter's response in a letter to Winter dated November 27th, 1979. When Michael saw that letter, he became exasperated. I've been told over and over again that black people in the covers of magazines don't sell copies, he complained. Just wait. Someday those magazines are going to be begging me for an interview. Maybe I'll give them one, and maybe I won't. For the next 20 odd years, John Branca would unarguably be the single most important figure in Michael Jackson's career. He would negotiate every business deal for him, become a trusted friend and advisor, and see to it that this talented kid from Gary realized both of his goals. John's first course of action was to renegotiate Michael's CBS contract with the company's president, Walter Yekudif. John managed to secure for Michael the highest royalty rate in the business at that time, 37% of 100% of a wholesale, which was the same rate given to Neil Diamond and Bob Dylan. He also made a deal with Walter and the Jacksons' legal representation, John Manson, that Michael could leave the Jacksons at any time in the future. John Brecka worked it out that if Michael did leave the group, CBS would still be obligated to record the Jacksons without him. It was a nice gesture and one that placated Joseph. He fully believed that without Michael in the group could continue because, as he'd been putting it for years, it's not all about Michael, of course. Joseph must have known better, but his focus is always on family. From this point on, legally, and thanks to John Branca, Michael Jackson would never have to record another song with his brothers unless he truly wanted to. Obviously, the Jackson brothers weren't happy with Michael's new independence, but the full ramifications of the deal would not hit them for a while. They were accustomed to Michael doing solo albums and still felt secure that he would remain with the group. Of course, in structuring Michael's freedom, he and John Branca had not considered the Catherine factor. Soon to come into play, if the brothers would want Michael to do something he didn't want to do, they would learn to ask them where to intervene. Michael's new deal was impressive, so much so that his brother Randy, who suddenly had solo aspirations, decided that he wanted to hire John Branca. During a lunch meeting with him, John asked Michael that he thought of the idea. I think it stinks, Michael told him according to the attorney's memory. I can't believe it. I do this one thing for myself, hiring you, and now they're all gonna try to reason on you. You wait next. You'll be hearing from Jackie. Probably Tito wants to do a record too. Are you saying you don't want me to represent Randy? John asked with a smile. He couldn't help but be bes- bemused by Michael's adamant reaction, not to mention the notion of Tito Jackson making a record. What I'm saying, Michael told him, his voice crisp and cool, is that I don't want you representing Rainey, Jackie, Gio, or anyone else with the last name Jackson ever. If you do, then we'll be finished, you and I. You got it, John agreed. Oh, and another thing, Michael added. I don't want Rainey to know that this is my decision. I want you to make it look like it's yours. Cool, John said. The two shook hands. They were developing trust in one another, and nothing could kind of such faith with the very best at the record business had to offer for both of them.